So you want to know what happened last week when I was in Ghana and all my thoughts around Africa Bitcoin conference. It was the first one, inaugural, never happened before. I was so proud that this whole thing happened. And as a matter of fact, the reason why we had this first Africa Bitcoin conference is because the organizer, Farida, she's a real, I mean, this woman is fantastic. Check her out, Farida. She's out of Togo. And so they said that really the reason why this got started is because at the Bitcoin conference, the big main one in Miami that happens every, I think, in June and July, they were there. A few Africans were able to make it there, but then many other people who make Africa Bitcoin ecosystem, many of them could not make it to that conference. Not because they don't care about Bitcoin, on the contrary, but it's because, well, most of them did not have their visas approved. There, when they realized that, then Farida and others took on this goal to make their own Africa Bitcoin conference happen, where everybody from the continent could converge that cares about Bitcoin. Before going, I was a little bit on, not so sure about, but I knew the organizers. I've followed Farida for a while, so I kind of knew that if she's going to do something, it's going to be done well, and that it was, if nothing else, worth going to check out. There was a lot of other people on the roster that I really have a lot of respect for, so I'm like, let's go. But what I was dreading, I think, was what I usually associate to the Bitcoin world, especially when they all gather, when all the Bitcoiners kind of gather. And then it dawned on me because I came there and the feelings felt so good. You come in, there's this African music playing around, and there's all of these people, of all ages, more on the, younger side, but all ages really, and also women. I saw women, so many more, like the ratio looked pretty good to me. I don't know exactly what it was, but I did not walk away. I did not have this feeling of being like, where are the women? So that was really nice as well. And it didn't look like, and I feel like compared to the Bitcoin conference in Miami, where it seems like many of the women were there as accessories to men, meaning like walking around with very skimpish clothes and going through the aisles, like wearing weirdo outfits and, making signs for some, stupid coins or whatever. But here, none of that. There was none of that. You could sense some, I don't know, I just felt like the whole thing was so much more dignified. I think that's the right word, dignified. And again, this is not to say that Bitcoin Miami, and I need to be careful because, it's friends of ours who, run that that conference, and they're certainly great people. But I think no one will argue with me that there is definitely what we can call the Bitcoin bro culture, at least in the West, and it's very much looks like what I just explained. Do we have some very serious women, women in the network? Absolutely. People like I said. Caitlin Long, I am a big fan of Caitlin Long. I mean, that woman is as solid as it comes, as smart as they come, and it's just as focused as they come, and she totally gets it. So we have plenty of people like that. So not to say that, but here in Africa, I just felt like it was just this, this really nice concentration of people and vibes, and the vibes were all about. It was such camaraderie. I mean, everybody going to everyone, hey, what are you working on? And you could sense that everybody just wanted to collaborate. That was really nice. Everybody wanted to collaborate and catching each other up on what they were doing. Just it was just so warm. And eventually it dawned on me that maybe the big difference in vibes and also in just what it felt had probably to do with the fact that for people in Africa, Bitcoin is really about life and death in some situations. It's not something that could be nicer. It is no. We need this. This is not optional. We need this. And so, a couple examples. There was, for example, this panel with led by Alex Gladstein, who is chief strategist for the Human Rights Foundation. He brought together this panel of human rights activists, And I remember listening to one after the other. The one that really blew my mind the most was this woman from Eritrea. And she primarily works with Eritrean refugees. And she was talking about how many of these people she has saved. I think she talked, it was in the thousands. That's humongous. Even one person saved is one. It's great in my book. So talking about thousands of women being saved is just crazy. And what she would talk about is all of this kidnapping going on, because that's how the basically some of the armed groups make their money. It's through kidnapping people and literally, torturing them and all of that, and making it very known to the family. And if you don't pay, by the time they say you need to pay, this person will be dead. And so very real stuff like that. And so for a woman like that, she's trying to buy back people's freedom. And for that, money has to go from one account to another account. She was talking about how when she had to work with Western Union and all of those different companies, how oftentimes the money might not get there on time, might not even happen. And I know because we have a lady who works for us, and she's based out of Turkey. It's a nightmare. It's been a nightmare for the longest time to try to get her paid every month. And so, for example, and then this one day we were paying her with Western Union, very expensive. But one day Western Union called after we tried to do a transaction. I was there having to speak to the compliance department. It almost sounded like being interrogated by, I don't know, I've never been interrogated before, but what I would imagine being interrogated by the FBI or the NSA might sound like, or the Gestapo. Who knows? I don't know. But it felt like very intrusive. And they wanted to know, who is this woman? How do you know her? How long have you known her? What are your family members? How are you guys related? What's going on? All of that stuff. And of course, you tell them what you have to tell them. And then they say, okay, thank you. We'll let you know. Then there was a secondary call. So you went higher up for them to check more. And then, of course, you answer. And then just to be told, well, we're not able to complete the transaction. Sorry. Really? Seriously? Yeah, we're not able to complete the transaction. They won't tell you more. It's and it just like you're just feeling like some freaking criminal, right? So they won't tell you more, but your thing can't go through. And of course, well, then sending me my money back, because by that time, the money, everything went. It looks like everything went through, but at the last step, they called, and so the money was in their custody by then of Western Union. Then Western Union called us back and said, we're not going to complete the transaction. You're like, Ben, send me my funds. Yeah, we'll send you your funds. You'll get them within 7 to 8 or 10 business days, something like that. So imagine this woman. There is a time clock on this threat of this person being killed. And imagine these people having to go through compliance and everything. And worse it at the last minute for them to tell you, we can't. We're not going to do it. And then someone dies. So for people like that, it's so easy for them to understand the value of Bitcoin, right? Or how this one dissident from this one country, the government, obviously, because this guy's a dissident, the best way to mess with dissidents is to cut their access to funds. And so that's what they do. Most people who deal with NGOs in other parts of the world, in poorer parts of the world where there is violence, they usually know about this problem of money not being able to move freely. We all know these problems. You want to send money to some NGO, it's not going to get there. So for us, Bitcoin is simply not about a matter of speculation. It's Bitcoin for us allows us to pretty much leap over and escape dysfunctional financial institutions, and also make up for financial institutions in places where they're pretty much non-existent. That's what Bitcoin means to people like us in our parts of the world. And here I would talk about Africa. If Bitcoin means the difference between life and death, then of course, when you're going to have Bitcoiners united somewhere, you can sense how serious they are about Bitcoin and how collaborative they want to be about this thing, because they really want it to become the lay of the land sooner than later, so that their lives could get better sooner. And I have so much more to say about Bitcoin and why it matters so much to us in Africa, and why Bitcoin is an integral part of what I call the entrepreneur's toolkit, along all the other things we talked about before. So I If you want to know more about all of this, make sure to join us on our next live call, because I promised you we would do it, so we're doing it. Next Thursday, December 22nd, it's going to be at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. West Africa time. Make sure to be there. I am working on some very special guests that I think you'll enjoy a lot. See you there.